All right, number 2. So, inverse trig functions. Find the derivative of y with respect to the appropriate variable. So 2 is y is equal to the inverse cosine of 1 over x. So, this is what? A chain rule. Okay, so our chain rule for cosine, where is it? Well, cosine is here. So then we're going to do the chain rule by multiplying by du dx. Okay, so we've got negative 1 over the square root of, it's 1 minus x squared, so in this case x is actually 1 over x, so it's going to be 1 over x squared, times, what's the derivative of 1 over x? Another way I can write it is like this, right?
Yeah. So negative 1 negative x to the negative 2.
So that's going to end up being negative 1 over x squared. So we multiply by negative 1 over x squared, which is going to end up making this whole thing become positive because negative and negative. So this is going to ultimately give me 1 over x squared times the square root of 1 minus 1 over x squared. All right, 4, we've got y equals the inverse sine of 1 minus t. So what do I have here? Chain rule. If it was instead 1 plus t, would I have a chain rule?
Yes.
Yes, but what is it going to be? What would the inside be? It would just be 1. So we wouldn't have to do anything with it. So recognize that it's a chain rule, but then obviously sometimes it's not always relevant. In this case it is. But all right, so derivative of this, so y prime is equal to, what is the inverse sine derivative?
1 over square root of 1 minus, do we put in the 1 minus t?
Yep. 1 minus t is x now.
Squared.
Yep, and 1 minus t squared. Now, derivative of the inside, so du dx would be negative 1. So I'm just going to throw a negative out front, but know that that's because of this. I'm going to do that so that if you look back, you can see it. Now, is there anything else I can do?
Yeah.
No.
We could like
No.
multiply.
Multiply.
things. Yeah.
What is that going to multiply into?
1 plus t, 1 minus t.
No. That would be a difference of squares.
Oh,
It's 1 minus and then all that.
I'd love to write that down.
2t
1 minus 2t.
minus plus t squared.
So then I've got 1 minus 1, so the 1s are going to cancel. So let me erase. I got a negative 1 on top. 1 minus 1, 1s are canceling. Negative times negative 2t is going to be a positive 2t, and this is all in a square root. And then negative times positive t squared is negative t squared. So inside I end up with -1 over the square root of 2t minus t squared.
These are some pretty ugly problems.
They're not hard though.
No.
It's just a matter of paying attention to detail and knowing the formulas. 8. Y equals 1 over the inverse sine of 2x.
That's just wrong. Hey, can we make that not a quotient rule?
How would you recommend we do that?
Move it to the top.
How?
Like,
The exponent.
What's 1 over sine?
cosecant.
Rewrite this as inverse cosecant of 2x. You'll get a completely different answer if you do this as the inverse sine of 2x to the -1.
So if you
You'll actually get a very different answer if you do that. Don't do it. And now this is obviously much easier to deal with because we know that the formula for inverse cosecant is
It's wait.
negative.
Over absolute value of x.
Now x is
The actual x.
2x.
Square root of 2x squared minus 1.
And this was a chain rule, so I need to
Multiply by the derivative inside, which is 2.
So then I would get -2 over the absolute value of 2x, then the square root of 4x squared minus 1. Interesting. Okay. 12 says a particle moves along the x-axis so that its position at any time t greater than or equal to 0 is given by x of t. Find the velocity at the indicated value of t. X of t is equal to the inverse tangent of t squared, and t is equal to 1. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the derivative, okay? Because right now I've got position, so I want to get to velocity, which means take the derivative. Then I want to know actually what it is at the indicated value of t, so at time t. So then I will, once I get the derivative, I will plug in 1 for t and solve. So what would the derivative of inverse tangent be?
That would be 1 over 1 plus x, which in this case is t2 squared.
Times,
Times.
because I have a chain rule, right?
Yeah.
We agree with that.
times
So times 2t. So I've got 2t over 1 plus t to the 4th. So this is now v of t. So then v of 1 is 2 times 1 over 1 plus 1, which is 2 over 2, which is just 1. They didn't give us units, so just leave it that way.
I like using tangent and cotangent. Those are the easiest.
Huh?
Tangent and cotangent are the
Oh.
easiest.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of depends on what they give you as to plug in.
Yeah.
14. Find the derivatives of y with respect to the appropriate variable. Now, they use s in this problem. I'm going to change it to x because s's and 5's look similar and both are in the problem. So, y equals the inverse secant of 5, and they had s, so I'm going to use x because that would just,
Oh,
it was 5s, and that was just weird, so.
Oh, that's just, yeah.
you just said that's good. Anyway.
So y prime equals
1.
I'm glad we got that part down.
Woo.
Yeah, over the absolute value of 5x times the square root of 5x squared minus 1.
Then what?
Then we got
So then that would be
Type 5.
Now, at this point, when we go to put 5 on top, okay, would you agree that 5 down here is always positive?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so I can cancel the 5s, but I need to leave x in the absolute value bars. Okay, because x, we don't know what x is. X could potentially be negative. So that needs to stay in the absolute value bars to make it positive. But the 5 can't all of a sudden just be negative. So the 5s can cancel. So
Oh.
we would get 1 over the absolute value of x times the square root of 25x squared minus 1. I think you need some new AirPods. I've never heard anybody's AirPods go off as much as yours do. I feel like somebody playing a joke on you.
That'd be so funny.
Somebody's trying to find his AirPods that have connected.
Or yeah, if somebody accidentally connected to your AirPods and they're trying
I was
to
gonna
find
say
them.
Zach, but he's in my mom's room, so couldn't be him during this class.
Well, it doesn't go off during any other class.
Who else has connection to your AirPods?
Someone's trying, that's like the finding noise, isn't it?
Yeah.
Someone's trying to find your.
That's why I was like, who has connection to your AirPods?
And it would be it wouldn't be as weird if it went off in other classes.
Yeah, but it only ever goes off in this one.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, we only have 2 more. If that makes y'all feel any better. And then we're done.
I actually
and
thought I was gonna hate this section more than I actually do.
Yeah.
and the thing is in the grand scheme of the AP exam, this isn't that much. But it is something you need to know. That's why we kind of speed through it, but also it's just kind of easy. If you memorize the formulas, it's easy.
Yeah, if you don't know the formulas, you're kind of screwed. But if,
Yeah.
unless you know how to derive.
Yeah, you can't
to
really.
find it.
You can't really get from sine and cosine for these.
Yeah.
So.
Without knowing a lot about math, you can't really.
Yeah.
You really only have to memorize 3 and then just put a negative sign in front of the other 3. So
Which is nice.
As long as you know but they go
Which
with their
ones go
which
with-
they go with their co-function.
Exactly.
So it
Yeah.
like sine and cosine,
Yeah.
tangent and cotangent. So if you know the one, you know its co-function. So, all right.
Okay. Okay.
Inverse cotangent of the square root of t.
So that's gonna be 1 over. Was it?
I'm so glad we have that part down.
The
Yeah.
x squared
Yeah,
plus
that part.
1. Like,
1 over, what is it?
what's
One
now?
over
Equals negative.
Negative.
I was gonna say, is cotangent not negative?
Negative
It is negative.
1 over 1 plus x squared.
Yeah, the other one. Okay.
So now
I
in
guess
this
x squared plus
case,
1 would be the same.
I mean, it's the same thing.
yeah, it doesn't matter.
It does not.
Now, in this case, we have the square root of t, so you
So
gotta
it's
make
just
sure
gonna
that whole thing gets
Right.
put in for x, okay, in that function. So it's gonna be the square root of t squared, okay, which obviously is just gonna make the square root go away.
Yeah.
But we'll deal with that in a minute.
Times
Oh, okay. So just make
Now, how else can we think about the square root of t?
t to the half.
t to the half.
Okay, so keep that in mind as you're doing your
So 1/2 t to the negative half.
So now, the negative 1/2 t is going to move it to the bottom. And the 2 from the 1/2 is going to also be on the bottom. Okay? So we're going to end up with, on top, negative 1 over 2 square root of t. Well, not square root of 2, square root of t. Hello. There we go. Times 1 plus t. And I would say probably just leave it like that. That's how the book's going to leave it.
Okay, because the 1/2 becomes this one.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is interesting.
What's interesting?
The book has that this answer should be positive.
How?
But cotangent is negative. There's no absolute value involved with cotangent. It's just negative 1 over 1 plus that squared.
I disagree with the book a lot.
It should be negative. I think it's just a typo. It should be negative. Because there's no, like,
Doing anything to
if this was already, like, 1 over that, then yeah, it would be negative being pulled out, but yeah, it should be negative. The book has a typo, that's what we're going to say. 'Cause
the- No one wants the popsicle. Oh,
That's just liquid.
no, it's just
that's
liquid.
disgusting.
No, it's not.
All right, 24, last one.
Good juice wrap.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
Oh.
What's wrong?
That's not a what? Are
She's-
you laughing at the problem?
She
or
said,
a-
"Oh gosh."
Oh.
Find an equation for the tangent to the graph of y equal. Oh, wait. To the graph of y at the indicated point. Y equals the inverse tangent of x when x is equal to 2. Wait. Yeah. Yeah, we're good. I have the wrong problem written down on my paper. That's why I was confused.
Oh.
This is problem 24. just making sure. All right, so we need the derivative of this.
We are.
Unless y'all want to do one that's harder, because this one's going to be semi-easy, but it's fine.
I kind of don't. So, okay. This one's not a chain rule, is
Nope, that's why I said this one's kind of easy.
it? Okay, so
1 over.
1 over
Yay, I got that part.
1 plus x squared.
Now we just plug in 2.
Alright. Let's go.
1 over 1 plus 2 squared, so that's 1 over 5. So that's my slope.
Oh, I forgot the squared and I was like, where are you getting the 5?
What do you mean? 2 plus 1 is 5.
Now, I only know my x value right now, correct?
Correct. So
I need to find y. How do I do that?
Plug it into
plug in.
the original equation.
Can you do that in your head?
No.
No.
So you need to plug that into your calculator in radian mode. Because 2 is not a degree. I mean, it could be, but it's not.
You never know.
In calculus, we're in radians. All the time.
Oh, I don't think I
Unless
can-
otherwise stated. You are in radians.
I thought we were
I'm like-
in degrees.
That's physics.
1.107.
Okay. So, this is y, this is x. So when we do our equation of the tangent line, we have y minus 1.107 equals 1/5 times x minus 2. You can leave it here or change to slope-intercept form.
I always just say
I would say just leave this one TBH, but the book doesn't. They take it to slope-intercept, which if you were just so inclined to want to know, it would be y equals 1/5 x plus 0.707.
The decimal just makes it kind of ugly.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, and you've got a fraction and 1, and then you've got a...
Yeah, wait.
But
Wait a minute.
because of slope, you don't want to slope as a decimal, so that's why.
Can we do the harder one?
Yeah, let's go ahead.
Yeah. 26. It's not that much
We don't
harder.
actually have a chain rule.
Y equals the inverse tangent of x squared.
Okay, what?
X is equal to 1.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
But it is a chain rule.
Yeah, I just want to know the chain rule.
Okay.
Okay, this is
Equals 1 over
Woo!
1 plus x squared squared
So I'm going to go ahead and write that as x to the 4th.
times 2x.
So I've got 2x over 1 plus x to the 4th. Can plug in 1. So I get 2 over 2 over 2, which is 1, which is my slope.
Then we gotta define the y. We gotta plug it in. Plug it in.
Inverse tangent of,
1.
you should know this without actually having to do
Oh,
it.
what? Isn't it?
probably. Well, you're going to know what the radical value is, I guess. You can plug it in, it's fine. Get the decimal.
0.7853.
You could do it because you know the unit circle, but
Yes.
you're going to want the decimal.
No.
So equation y minus 0.785 equals 1 times x minus 1. So you can leave it there, or if you take it all the way, y equals x minus 0.215. Questions? Not as scary as it sounded.
No. Doing okay.
All right. 1, 5, 11, 13, 15, 19, 25. Oh gosh. 21 would be a good challenge problem if you were looking for something.
Okay.
Because it is a, you've got 2
Oh.
inverse trig functions. Not a product rule, they're being added. But within that, you've got a chain rule and a chain rule.
That is a challenge.
It ends up being a very interesting problem. The answer is not really interesting, but
It's not interesting.
the problem in and of itself